back, everybody, for a very, very special episode. I have some really special guests here with you guys today. So, would you guys like to introduce yourselves and say which class in Hopkinton you're from?
I'm David Foster, and I was class of '64.
Ray Martin, class of 65.
George Sharp, class of 66.
Yeah, these guys are Hopkinton legends. They won some of the first state championships in the history of our town back in the 1960s. Hopkinton with a three-peat in boys basketball, 1964, 1965, and 1966. They have yet to win a championship since then. Some of these guys were also on the soccer team back then in 1964, the fall of 1964, right after that spring where they won the state championship for basketball. So, you know, members of these teams from the first four Hopkinton state championships ever, which I think is very, very cool. So, welcome guys. Really, really glad to have you. I know we've been working on putting this together for about a year now, and I'm very excited about it. So, let's start off with growing up in Hopkinton, you know, 1950s, 1960s. I'll go down the line and give each of you an opportunity to answer. What was that like?
Growing up, well, I feel very lucky that I grew up when I did. I was born in '46, and I grew up in Hopkinton Village in the '50s and '60s. My father worked, my mother was a homemaker, and we ate supper at night, we talked a lot, and we worked hard. And it was just a simpler time, and it was a nice time, and I feel I have good values, and I have them because of my parents. Because I was instilled in good values about being honest and working hard, and always making sure I gave to other people more than I took for myself. And it was just it was, I think, the best times that we've ever faced, if you want to know the truth. And I feel very privileged by it, and quite honored, and that I've kind of lived my life by that.
Ray?
Yes, grew up in Hopkinton all my life and left. The first time I left Hopkinton was when I went to college. But anyways, along the same lines that David said, I feel very lucky to be. I consider myself, a person of the '60s, just because I was a freshman in high school in '61 and a senior in college in '69. So I had that time frame, and it was a happy time. It was a fun time. I mean, if you go back and look at the history, there's a lot of things that you'll see with the riots and stuff like that, and draft issues. But it was still around Hopkinton. It was a fun time to be here. Everybody it was a small environment, 40, 45, 50 kids in each class. The other thing that was unique was that we were from the sixth, but the 5th grade through 12 we were in the high school building, and then they did eventually take the 5th and 6th grade out. But so the 7 through 12, you're all together, and that provided like a real solid student community. And there was, like we said a few minutes ago here, we played whatever the sport was in the fall. The boys had 3 sports.
Yeah.
Until I started a golf team.
Oh, yes.
But that ruined these guys. But anyways, we had soccer started when I was a freshman. We started golf when I was a freshman, but we had soccer, basketball, and baseball. And you went from one sport to the next, as George said a few minutes ago, when it was time, when the basketball season started November 15th, or whenever the practice started, ended when the tournament ended, and then we took up baseball. Or in my case, I took up golf. And so there wasn't a lot of, there was other than a kind of a quasi, I guess you could call it a Little League baseball team.
Yeah, the hot shots.
But that was not, it was 15 and under. So you had guys that were 15 years old out there playing, but that was the only real organized. There was no organized soccer, no organized basketball. We just kind of picked it up by ourselves and with our own kids. So it was a good time to be there, and it was a lot of fun.
Yeah, so did you guys spend a lot of time together during those times where there was no organized sports and get a bunch of kids together down at whatever field or anything?
No, we didn't have any playground for that. We all did it at our houses.
At the house.
You know, he'd play with his brother and cousin over near Dustin's, and I was in Hopkinton Village, and George was, where were you, in Straw Road or over?
I was down at Straw Road.
Yeah, no, we weren't together at all. It's we got, when we went to school is when we got together.
We had a group on Straw Road that all got together, there were a bunch of us down there, but that was infrequent, you know.
Very
I mean,
infrequent.
Yeah, you know,
Who was this group?
well, there was Wally and Russell Wilder.
Oh,
And Tootie Okinen, and, you know, so we'd all get together and play there on the road, but not really that much. I was brought up on a farm, so there was things to do all the time.
yeah, and it wasn't
I feel
basketball.
and that's right, and I feel fortunate too, because, I mean, that's just the way it was, you know, you did your work, but,
Yeah.
and my parents taught me very well about that, that's for sure. But they also, you know, wanted me to be able to play sports. And so, I mean, there was never, they always made sure that I was able to get there. And, you know, because I was probably, well, you were about the same distance away.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, one thing
You
that
had to be traveling to get there.
You were traveling. I mean, I was way out on the Henniker and Hopkinton Ware line. You
Yeah.
were down on the Concord, Hopkinton,
The Concord line.
and Dunbarton, and you were kind of in the middle.
I was in
But
the
literally,
village.
I didn't know any of these guys until I got to the 5th grade.
Yeah.
Right.
Because I was going to school in Kentucky, and they were going to school in Hopkinton Village at the time, a small school. So we started getting together as a bigger group.
So the district wasn't merged back then from like K through 12, it was until later on where everything got merged together.
I went to Hopkins, the grade school, 1 through 4, and in 5, we had to take the school bus. So 5th grade to 12th grade, I was up to Hopkins, and the lower class were on the first floor, and the upper class were all on the second floor. So I was going to school with kids 7 years older than me.
Yes.
Yeah.
And you'd have friends that were
Yeah.
seniors in high school
That's-
in
yeah.
6th
Yeah.
grade.
Yeah.
I want to go to George. George, I know you talked a little bit about growing up in Hopkinton. What was your favorite part about it?
Life was very easy back then. That's what I.
We thought it was hard.
We probably at the time,
Yeah.
but in comparison, when I look back
Yeah.
at it, I mean, we would think nothing of getting on a bike and riding somewhere and going swimming down to the swimming hole or something like that, where nowadays, my God, I've got grandchildren, I don't even like to see them on the road, you know, because of the way things happen.
Hey, George, you could get on your bike and leave in the morning and not even come back till supper time. And your mother didn't even worry where you were.
Never worried.
They didn't worry.
Yeah, times are certainly different.
Yeah.
Why do you think there's been such a cultural shift in society?
Oh, boy.
Yeah, if we got an
Well,
answer for that,
everything's
we'd be.
changed. I mean, my mother stayed home, and I say she didn't work, but she ran the household. But, and I don't want to get too politically, but, you know, once the women had to start working and the mothers weren't home, my mother spent most of her time tending the house, shopping for food, I said to Mom, I need my uniform ironed. She says, good, there's the ironing board and the iron, start ironing. You know, but she tended the household. And now when the women have to work as hard as the men and then kind of come home and run the house, and a cooked meal now is a bucket of fried chicken. We had homemade, and we grew up a lot of vegetables on our farms. You know, we had big gardens, we had to weed and plant and harrow, and we had wood we had to cut. And it was more structured, and we just expected it, and we didn't have that many diversions.
And I think
Simple.
you're right about, you know, my father ran the farm that I did for a while, and then he worked, but my mother was home.
Yes.
So my mother she would find anything athletic for us to do.
Yes, yeah.
She tried me all over, everywhere.
He was good at everything
to
he
play
did.
golf. I mean, she'd find tournaments in Massachusetts that show up. And basketball, I had an older sister that played, and we used to have to leave early to go pick up our sister from after the basketball practice. So we always begged her we had to get there early
Yeah,
so
yeah.
we could play on the side. And so she just hauled us, in my case, she hauled me all over the place. And then they attended every single basketball game and any other sports. The basketball was the biggest.
Yeah, that was the big one.
All the parents were there.
Yeah,
For
yeah.
the basketball, they would just
We could
always
feel,
show up, snowstorms.
I feel like that part hasn't changed where we have, like, basketball's the biggest of Hopkinton sports.
yeah.
Is it?
Yeah.
We had 600 people in our gym, and they would even be sitting up on the stage.
Yeah,
Yeah,
On the
on
old
some of the
gym.
bigger games.
So it's
The old
currently,
stage.
the old gym is currently the auditorium now, I think.
yeah,
Yeah.
it is.
Yeah.
Which is kind of different. So what was it like then compared to the floor now? How'd you feel
Well,
about that?
that's another thing. See, that gym was elevated over what used to be the shop. Was nice spring to it. You could really jump. Now the new gym, I guess, is downstairs, isn't it? It's on concrete.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a nice gym to play
It
on.
was a really good gym. to
Yeah.
play on.
Yeah, and it was, at that time, it was, and when it was built, it was
Right.
one of the biggest ones
I know.
around.
Yes,
other
it
than a
was.
Concord or
Wow.
even bigger than physically.
Yeah.
Not for stands, but for the
The
field.
gym floor?
The floor,
The gym floor.
the gym floor was
Yeah.
big, and so we got the advantage of playing on a large floor, because some of these other schools, most of the other schools we go to, the gym wouldn't be any bigger than this room right here.
Well, some of them-
Remember Warner, how small that gym
Yeah.
was?
So, I mean, that was the gym
And
floor.
David's father was the one that got the first glass backboards.
We had, when we played, we had fan plywood backboards.
Yeah.
And when we won the championship in '64, I said to my father, we need fiberglass backboards, the clear
Right.
ones. Because a lot of people, schools didn't have them. So one of his things is, he said, you win the championship, and him and his stockbroker, Bob Palmer, bought and donated new
Yeah.
fiberglass backboards to the high school. Yeah, we didn't have them before that. You'd go to take a bank shot, and it was a fan shape, and sometimes you'd hit the top of the backboard, and it wouldn't go in, for sure it'd go over the backboard. But it was a great gym to play in.
And that's another indication of how the community came together. There was something
Yes.
that, and we accomplished something. They wouldn't just give it to you. You had,
They gave
they
a
put a
goal.
goal up.
Yeah.
And
You win the championship, and we'll get your backboards. And back
come in
then,
second, no.
we had the one drinking fountain. You'd have to ask your coach if you could go get a drink.
And the referee.
Yeah, the ref. And now everybody has their bottles, with them. We didn't have any of that. And there was always other people going up to get the drink too, so you'd have to wait for
Wait
them.
in line.
Yeah, so you get back into the game. It was just a different community. And my class was 36 graduated.
Wow.
That was it. Roughly, I think there were a few more girls than there were boys, but it was a small class.
I think we had, in my graduating class last calendar year, I think we had slightly under 70, and that was
Yeah.
considered a small class
Yeah.
in comparison to
That
most others.
Double what we had.
Yeah, that's crazy. So let's get more in depth about the whole basketball situation. So coming up with you guys in middle school, early entering in high school, can you talk about those seasons, your initial coach that you had, and then we'll go from there.
I just want to say one thing, like you say, let's get back to basketball, which we should, but you get a pretty good feeling our life was kind of intertwined with the whole thing. We didn't want to let the town down. So many other school classes before us should have won that didn't. And we didn't want to face our parents on that one. So we just loved the game, and the thing is, we never fought. Do you remember ever getting in fights?
No.
We got along really well.
No?
On and off the court is what it was. On and off the court, where everybody was friendly, all the time. I don't remember anything.
I was just going to say
Nothing.
that.
Yeah,
Nothing. And we'd go in a school bus to the games. But for baseball and basketball, our mothers had to take us. So my mother always volunteered to take us to a game. And when we came home, Mom would always stop at a clam bar and let the kids eat. The other mothers brought the kids right home. So everybody wanted to ride with my mother, Daisy. Everybody wanted to go with my mother. But look at us now. Here we are, we're in almost 80, and I haven't seen these guys for a little while. I love them just as much as the first day I laid eyes on them. The thing, it takes a village. We were really a community. When we won, how many people were down there waiting for us?
Oh, they were waiting. Right.
Everybody was so proud.
Yeah, so that whole, start of it, when you guys were coming up towards high school and everything, can you just explain to me, like, those first seasons, some of those players who mentored you, the first Hopkinton coach you really looked up to and all that?
Well, when I played, I started young playing, but I think the only coach I had for basketball was Mr. Purington. And he was very bright, very smart. But half the practice, he'd be taking half shorts, shots out at the court and we'd be giving them the ball. Well, we never did that. Danny Park came down when I think I was a
Yeah,
sophomore.
sophomore, I was a freshman.
And he was all business. And he wasn't your best friend. He wanted to win, and he always had plans. And we ran all kinds of plays, you know, all kinds of plays. And we'd run them. And then at the end, because he'd make you do sprints, we never did many sprints with, you know, with the others. He just instilled a real camaraderie with us. And even today, he died a year or so ago. We'd go to his games. And we'd always talk. I mean, we still love him.
He's a great guy.
It was kind of almost, when you think of it now at this day of our life, almost kind of spooky just how much he influenced us and how much we would have taken a bullet for him.
Well, he wasn't that much older than us.
Right.
4 years, I think, 4 or 5 years.
Well,
So far to you was 6 and.
Yeah,
Six,
yeah,
eight, yeah, he-
yeah, right.
He was in he came right
He
out
was
of
81
college.
when he passed, right?
Yeah, and
Yeah.
so his first job was at
Hopkinton.
coaching and teaching, and so when he came into the high school, I was a freshman. He was only 8 years older than me,
Yeah.
because I had 4 years of high school and 4 years of college to catch up with him. But he was only 8 years older, and I think that added to it. But he did definitely bring a competitive spirit, and he wanted to win.
As
Absolutely.
much as he was tough on us, we just respected him so much.
Oh,
Oh, yeah.
About every game, he'd throw the clipboard and break it. Every game, he'd
So
get
we didn't do
mad.
everything right.
And he'd get yelling at me, and I didn't really like the yelling because my father used to do a lot of that. And I'd have to scold him. I'd say, "Stop yelling at me." Well, I look back, but he trusted me. You know, I'll figure it out. But there was a certain bond there that I just feel so lucky that we had, because some guys don't really like their coaches. I think he instilled a lot. I think for me, the game that I think of the most, I don't remember much when Dave Armstrong and them played, but I think playing in the semifinals with Bucko Johnson up in New London when we were behind 12-0 with Charlestown,
Yeah.
that game kind of stuck with me more than any other. I think Carlton Fisk probably had about the best second and third effort that I ever played against.
Yeah, that's another thing worth noting is you guys played against Carlton Fisk on the way to the championship.
Yes, we did. And do you remember we played against some good guys, but I have to say,
I remember it real well.
I played him he and I are the same, and I was a sophomore, and he was a sophomore, and that's when we lost stuff.
that's right. You remember that? Yeah.
Well, they had a really good team. That's not mine.
Nice one.
And so anyways, it was and then we played him again when I was a senior, and you were a junior, and David graduated. And winning that game for us, was a big thing. And it
Was that when you played over to Portsmouth?
Yes, yeah. And Fisk had a great season and a great game. And I think if you ask Carlton Fisk today, he said it several times over the years,
Yeah.
that his biggest disappointment was losing to Hopkinton when he was a senior.
Well, I got to tell you this is worth
He
noting.
told Danny that.
Danny.
He said that to Danny.
When
Yeah.
Danny, and we'd go to sports banquets, not all at once, but Danny would always go. One of the sports banquets down in Manchester he was at, and he ended up in the men's room after the game, and he's at the urinal, and Carlton Fisk came right up beside him, and he was right beside him. And Danny said, "Hi, Carlton, how are you?" And Carlton said, "I didn't foul Sharp. I didn't foul Sharp." And Danny says, "Carlton, you're in the Hall of Fame, you know, class belt. I don't care. I didn't foul Sharp." That was the last shot that he fouled out of.
Yes, he did.
Because he said he did it. And he fouled out, and there was like 2 minutes left, wasn't there? Yeah, and George took a shot, and he could run and jump, couldn't
He
he?
was a great
And he swatted the ball. But Danny says, of all the things he's accomplished in his life, and that bothers him the most of anything.
Wow. George, I mean, I've talked to people around town just doing research for this interview, and a lot of people think you're like the best Hopkinton athlete ever, or you're certainly up there as one of the greatest athletes in the history of our town. What does it mean to you that you have a legend like Carlton Fisk, who's a household name around the country, and he's really bothered about that game he had to play you?
I like the part that he's bothered. That part I like. That I'm even mentioned to be up with
With
these
him.
guys and others that have played that's an honor. You know, I thank you, whoever's saying that, but there's tons of other players that have been just as
Had
good and
great years.
and had some great years along the way. But the part about that night over there,
Yeah.
that's one of the biggest nights I think that we've had there, and I'm very lucky to play in that game. It was a great game.
I want to hone in on the 64 season here. What was the path to the championship like for you guys?
Well, I think you have to understand that there were I believe three classes at that time. It would be like Division 1, 2, and 3. Or it was A, B, C, or whatever.
It was
L,
that-
M, and S, large, middle, and small.
Small.
And so we were in the smallest division. But we played in the Central New Hampshire League.
Yeah,
And that gave us a big step up that when we went to the tournament that year. We played Pembroke, we played Pennacook, these are on our regular.
we played
Goffstown.
M teams, we played medium teams.
Well, and then
Right.
when they formed the fourth division when we were seniors,
Yeah.
the
I.
I, they all were an I, and we
Yeah,
were still an
yeah,
S.
yeah.
So anyways, to build up to that year, we had a good year in high competition for a small school.
We lost 3 games that
I
year.
think 3, but when we went to the tournament, I don't think we had a close game in the tournament.
We were 42 points ahead of Walpole in the third quarter, and somebody said to Danny Parr, maybe you should put in your subs. We're 42 ahead. It was a whitewash. Yeah, yeah.
So I think that helped as you talk about the start. But we had some good games and some good years the previous 2 years.
Yes, we had.
And we were ready. Everything came together, and it all worked out. And like David said, we were ahead by a lot, and we had to sit on the bench. And
We did.
And that upset me.
Yeah, me too.
I wanted to be out there playing.
But we lost 2 years before that. We should have beat New London,
Yeah.
and we didn't. And Charlestown was a tough
They
team.
were a good team. When we
They-
lost my
Yeah.
sophomore year, junior.
And you know, Bucko Johnson, as good as he was was looking at his girlfriend in the stands more that night than anything else. He,
That might be another edit.
But I think it was, that year was, I remember that, obviously, and it was, unlike the Fisk game the next year, getting into and we had lost to Walpole. The Walpole had beaten Hopkinton when they had Barber.
yeah, that's right, yeah.
Like
The
3 years
Walpole
before.
Chicks.
The 3 years before,
That's right.
and we got to play them again.
Yeah,
And it was something like 15-15 at the end of the first quarter.
yeah.
And then when he took us out, it was 65-29.
Yeah.
I'll remember that.
We
for as
caught
long as
fire.
And the thing was, I was in the numbers, and I loved numbers, and I knew memorized. If we could have the most points scored,
Yeah.
the widest margin,
Yeah.
and we lost all those.
Yeah,
margins.
Danny pulled us. Well, that's okay.
That's all, but
Yeah.
it was a great feeling. And then the town came out like you wouldn't believe, and to watch us play the games, and then to follow us home, and then 3 weeks later, they had a banquet that filled, the whole gym was full of people, of tables. They brought in tables, and they had somebody came and spoke. But anyways, that was, and they gave us all jackets.
They did.
And by the time you got to your senior, you probably got a pen set?
I think I got a jacket then.
You got a jacket?
I did.
All I remember is it went jacket, sweater for the soccer program.
Yeah.
Because we went seasons, and then the next year, we got the basketball. We won basketball again my senior year, and they gave us a pen set.
Oh, really?
Little thing like this. That,
The honeymoon was over.
we drained the town.
Yeah.
But it was just, as you say, and you never forget those times, and we're fortunate a lot of us still live around here. And I mean, at times we can put together the starting five or almost, and now together.
That's the best thing about it, those of us that are still here locally, still get together. We don't see you all the time here, but there's a group of us that still get together, and we have coffee on the weekends. And you know, and I hope that some of these kids maybe win a championship or do something like, they don't even have to win a championship, but if they get the chance I hope you do, 60 years from now, hang out with some of your high school buddies and get a chance to talk about things like this and just reminisce and enjoy it as much as I do. I know that.
Oh, yeah.
I really enjoy this.
What were the keys to keeping it all together, not just beyond, but also when you were in school and not having very much fighting there on your team, and just keeping it together throughout that whole time? Because that's a tough thing to do. I know a lot of younger people right now, like you have a friend for a couple of years and they'll think they'll be friends for a lifetime, and then they never see each other again for 20 years or whatever it might be.
Well, we weren't texting, getting somebody upset.
Or no phone, no cell phones.
Yeah, no cell phones. It was very simple. Our parents all kind of got along.
Yeah.
And it was a smaller community, half as many people, and we worked, and we played, and we worked some more. But we weren't, you know, if we had a gripe, we'd work it out, looking at each other in the eye.
That's
But
right.
we didn't have that many gripes. It was so, life was simple. We didn't seem to be, well, let's think about road rage. When I grew up, I never even knew what road rage was. Now you hear about it all the time. And he said he hopes you'll be here, but it's a different world. People go get the big jobs and move out of this, you know, like this guy right here, Ty Houston. His father needed him to work in the farm. He moved. He played on a team that lost in '64. His father gets sick, he comes back. You know, we move out now. We don't stick around the same
He
way.
drove the bus.
Yeah,
To all the
Ty did,
games.
yeah. The guy that owned this, Ty Houston, drove us to all the basketball games. It was just a really close-knit community, because Hopkins always had their things with Hopkins and Kentucky, you know.
Yeah.
That's about the most of the fight.
Yeah.
But it's a great town. It's a certain class of people, I think, in this town. I just think it's really a fabulous
Never
town.
even gave it a thought, to be honest with you,
Yeah.
because nothing was happening.
Nothing.
Between us all. We were just growing up and
Yeah.
we were working and we were
Just
playing
going along for the
sports.
ride.
And it was,
And
thought nothing of it.
there was an acceptance of, okay,
Right.
these five are gonna stop.
Yeah.
And that the rest of the people on the team and the
Right.
parents accepted that.
And no parents got in the middle and say, why isn't my kid playing, you know?
And so there was that, and then there were 6, 7, 8 men that played a lot, and that's why they were ready 2 years later to take over.
and you don't even like saying them, because they played us so hard in practice. The second squad could beat most of the teams that we played anyway with.
Yeah,
all
oh
the
yeah,
time.
right.
I mean, we just had an all-around good team from start to finish.
Yeah.
Everybody played
Played
well,
well.
you know, so, and that helped, and that's just like you said,
The
for the
coach-
next couple of years.
Yeah.
I mean, you just had good people coming in
Yeah.
and,
And the coaches recognize, that most of the teams always had a couple of seniors, a couple of juniors, and a sophomore,
Right.
or 2 sophomores, and so there was continuity. So from one year to the next, you just had to fill a couple of holes. You didn't have to fill all 5 of
right.
them.
And Danny pushed us, and he always said, you'll pass out before you die, so don't worry about it. So that always was good for me, because I knew I could.
Yeah.
I don't know if I should say this or not, but one day Danny was my class homeroom teacher, and he said it was a little after 8, we started 8:30, it was 8:15, and Danny said, Mr. Milne wants to see you in the office. And it was a Wednesday. We used to play Tuesdays and Fridays.
Right.
And then we started playing Fridays and Saturdays. It was Wednesday morning. I'm thinking, what did I do so quick? I haven't just got here. So I went into Mr. Milne's office and he said, Foster, sit down. So I sit down. And he says, I just want to tell you something. I said, what's that? And I was scared because my father was always real strict with me. And he says, I just want to thank you. Last night I went to the game. And he says, you made me very proud. He says, as hard as you work out there, you leave it all on the floor. And he said, I just want you to know that you bring me in this town a lot of joy with just how hard you leave it all out on the court. And I think we were all the same way. They had to answer to me, and we were all the same way. And they did. We didn't want to lose, and we fought to the death. It was almost instilled in us, the whole thing.
I don't know where that came from, but it part
I
helped it a
don't,
lot.
yeah, he did,
He coalesced it,
he did,
brought it all together.
he
I
did,
believe so, I agree.
I do.
Totally.
yeah.
Because
Yeah,
you
he
did
was
not
the only
want,
coach that I ever had.
Huh?
He
yeah.
was the only coach that I ever had.
Yeah, exactly.
So,
Yeah.
You
And
didn't
he-
want to let him down.
no.
Oh,
not
you
at
didn't
all.
want to get,
Not ever.
you didn't want to have the clipboard broken over his knee
No.
because of something I had done.
Yeah,
Like the one game that we lost,
Oh.
your senior year,
Oh.
my junior year, which was the last game of the season.
who'd you lose to?
We lost at
Hillsborough.
Hillsborough by
Well,
6 points. and
that was a
I-
tough team.
Hey,
Well, we shouldn't have lost.
They had, Hillsborough had refs we never saw anyplace else.
no, this was home. We lost.
Really?
Oh, wow, that is bad.
Yeah, and.
Yeah, that is
He
bad.
was not a
Danny
happy.
was not a happy camper with us that particular.
He was demanding that way.
Yeah, yeah.
What makes a great coach?
I think that everything we've been talking about here, compassion,
I,
intensity, preparation,
respect,
respect.
Respect.
Respect is huge.
We all respected him.
On the
He-
flip side of that, he, as tough as he was for us to, do the best that we possibly could, I can remember when I sprained my ankle. He showed up at the house to wrap it.
yeah,
I mean,
Yeah,
you can't get a doctor to do that for crying out loud. He came to the house, and I'm, in there like this with my foot up and da-da-da-da-da. And he showed up just out of the blue, just to tape it up. So
I
could
really
get around.
think he,
Outstanding.
we're an
man.
extension of his family.
Oh,
He
yeah.
thought us almost like his family.
Yeah,
There isn't much Danny would have ever done for us.
oh, yeah,
And we felt the same way.
absolutely.
Respect, and believing in somebody and trusting in them and just not wanting to let them down. But it was different times then anyways, because we were determined we weren't gonna let anyone. I saw that when I was younger, with teams that should have won,
Yeah.
but way before us. But we had the drive, I think.
We had to drive,
Yeah,
definitely had to drive.
yeah,
and we had the right,
We had a
Personnel.
great coach.
right,
And we had a whole bunch of horses.
Yeah.
we
yeah.
had the horses from the fast to the
Right.
big to
Yeah,
the
also
talented,
Size.
We had a lot of things going for
We
us.
should mention, we had a guy 6'8".
Nobody ever cared who scored the most points. It was never about high score or
I know.
anything.
No.
It was a team effort.
Yeah. I remember one game, I think against Oyster River, maybe I senior year, I don't know, but I scored 22 points.
Yeah.
Or something like that.
Yeah,
And the next time we play Oyster River,
Yeah.
Oyster River comes out, which is Durham.
yeah.
Comes out with a boxing one on me. And Coach and Bar says, just stand out there by the half court line. I'll play my 4 against their 4 any day. You're not that important. So I literally stood out of half court in the corner, right in the corner, right by the coach. And I, hi Dan, how you doing? Just standing there. And this guy was like right here on me. And it just opened up the whole
Oh, yeah.
court, but it was, and that gets back to what David said, nobody cared who scored the
No.
most points.
It was all about winning and a balanced attack.
And we had a lot of people that would score a lot of, in different
could,
games,
yeah.
different games, the high score would be,
Always a little different.
yeah.
Always at least 3 guys in double figures, but it could be different every game.
I
Yeah.
think people have evolved and the game has evolved, and also coaching, which incorporates both people and the game, has inevitably evolved with both of those two things. But I feel like the fundamentals of a good coach are still the same. However, some aspects of different styles are different now. You guys watch basketball. I mean, I know that you've been to some high school games, at least in the past 60 years. I know you, have those opportunities to watch basketball and everything now. What have you seen through the evolution of the game of basketball and the evolution of people and coaching that has just all come together? And what do you like about it? What do you not like about it?
I hate the 3-pointer. Danny, we always were in shape. If we couldn't even shoot, he'd make sure we could run. And we'd be in your jock strap because we'd play defense. But we always were fast breaking and always running towards the basket. And I remember when people underestimated me because I was short and dumpy, but I could jump. And I remember we'd have the little tip and I'd give him and we'd be going down for the fast break. But now everybody stands. If you watch a game, everybody's out here. They're all in the perimeter. And then they get their thing, it isn't about passing, it's about doing their thing and then shooting. We didn't do any of that. We ran and we ran and we ran, and if we missed and somebody stole it from us, we'd go back and we'd steal it back, or we'd get the rebound and we'd run. And I think the three-pointers really ruined the game. They can't shoot a foul shot. At one point doesn't mean anything to the pros. I don't know about the high school so much, but I thought the game was a lot more fun when we played.
Well, it was a five-man
It was
game.
it was a team.
Five-man.
It wasn't five individuals. It was five guys pulling as a team.
In high school, you probably only have one or two guys that can shoot the free.
Right? Yeah. That's right.
With any kind of high percentage, any kind of percentage at all. But the rest are trying it. And I've been told if you walk into a gym, everybody stands at the three-point line and shooting.
That's what they do.
Nobody's.
Do they
going
practice foul
inside,
shots?
You know?
No.
I'm sure somewhere along the way, but the game is just completely different.
Well, it's changed.
And athletes are different, for sure.
They're bigger and faster.
They're bigger and faster, no question.
Oh, yeah.
Do you
Yeah.
feel like it was easier to win the next championships after you got the first one under your belt in '64? Because you were on all three teams.
I think they were all hard.
He didn't have a choice. He had to win.
I don't know that I can remember back exactly. I was one of the fortunate ones that was on all three. I don't ever remember even thinking about the game before.
Right.
It was the game that was at hand right there.
Yeah.
You know, you just got down there, and wherever we had to go at that particular time, whether it was Portsmouth or UNH or whatever, there was a game to be played, and you just played it. I don't remember worrying about or even thinking about the year before at that particular time.
Well, by then, we kind of
Now
had.
we do, but we
Yeah.
don't think about it.
You kind of had a mindset. We're not going to lose.
Well, there was
That
that,
was-
and,
that's
and
for
then,
sure.
but you didn't expect to lose either.
Yeah.
That's exactly right.
Those two
Yeah.
went
Yeah,
together.
that's right.
When you
Yeah.
had one loss
Yeah.
or two losses or three,
Yeah.
I don't expect to lose.
Yeah,
And so,
when you have none, you really don't expect it.
yeah, you're right.
Yeah, but even when you don't expect to lose, you want to go in there
With the
and
right
know
mind.
that
Oh, yeah, no,
you're
no.
not
Oh, yeah.
underestimate the.
Oh, no. that
Yeah.
was-
Because you never know when somebody's gonna
Give
come
up.
out there
Yeah.
and have a great game.
Yeah, a couple more things I want to get to before we wrap it up, but just Dave, I know you were trying out for the MLB after high school.
Yeah.
I'll let you guys talk about your lives a little bit briefly after high school.
Well, I was tried out with the Dodgers. There's like when I was playing ball in high school, there was more scouts in the stands than there were anything else. The Minnesota Twins, I had probably 6 or 7, and I was going to try to do that, and I was invited down to spring training with the Dodgers, but out of high school, there was a couple other things. I had a girlfriend, and I got her pregnant, and so she couldn't go to spring training. She's an asthmatic, and then I got drafted into the Vietnam War. That was going on. So my baseball career kind of took a back seat for that, and there was 90 of us went to try out for the physical, and of the 90, 13 of us passed, and I was one of the 13.
That was your draft physical.
Yeah, and they called me into the office, all 13 of us, and said, "Congratulations, gentlemen. Go home and pack your bags. You'll be heading to Vietnam." And I said, "Well, what if you're married with a baby?" He said, "If you're here, you're gone." So I told my wife that when I got home, and I got a deferment. I got a 6-month deferment because they changed to the birthday instead. So I didn't go. But that kind of set me back as far as what I was going to do. Now all of a sudden I'm not playing baseball, I'm not there, and I got a young baby and a wife that likes to spend money. So my life kind of took a 180. I'm still trying to figure it out now. But my father always said, "All you're going to get out of life's a living," and I guess I've done that, you know. So I kind of look back on it and think, boy, I really messed that up. But yet I will have to tell you, you know, because now they make huge money, but I could have done worse. You know, I look back and I'm so thankful. This is such a great town and friendship, you know, and life is really, it's about relationships.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely.
You can say what you want, so I feel so lucky about that. So it didn't turn out like I thought it was going to, but it turned out well. no complaints.
Ray, what are some of your
Well,
favorite memories
I got
after high
through,
school?
well, just obviously winning.
Yeah,
And then playing 3 different sports and winning in 3 different sports. So that was even better. And then I thought I was gonna be the next Arnold Palmer
Yeah.
or Jack
yeah.
Nicklaus. And so I played a lot of golf and I did very well. But then I decided, well, I want to go south to play golf at Southern University or somewhere with more. So
Yeah.
my mother said, you're not going south of the Mason-Dixon,
Oh, she did, yeah.
which was DC, Washington, DC. So I ended up going to UNH, and I played there for a couple of years for golf in college. And then, at that time, I was a year younger than David. You know, I basically graduated from college, handed a diploma, and they handed you a draft notice.
Yeah, right.
And so I went off, I ended up in the Marine Corps in the Air Wing and did 4 years there and flew over to North Vietnam, 100+ missions at night and down in the weeds. If
Yeah.
you want to talk about confidence, you didn't worry about a foul shot.
Yeah.
But, and then came out of there and worked and got some jobs and been very successful, had a great family and again, getting back to the same thing of just being around here.
Yeah.
You know, like George said, you know, we get together on Sundays or Saturdays or both days. And I remember George and maybe, I don't know, if somebody else was trying to get me to go to Sunday morning at 6 a.m.
At 6 o'clock, yeah.
Yeah, I'm not
Yeah.
doing that.
Yeah.
And so I went one day and I haven't missed a day
Oh, really?
since.
Yeah,
yeah.
I get up, oh God, I just don't feel good. Oh, no, gotta go. But it takes, in
little
5
push.
minutes, in 5 minutes, you're right back to
Yeah.
whatever we're talking about. It's a good crew and it's the same people that I've known forever.
Yeah.
So that's it. I did change, I moved to Warner, so I got a little bit, these guys gave me a little hard time moving out of
Yeah.
town.
George, what about you? What are some of your most significant life achievements?
Well,
He hasn't had them yet.
this will be short.
Don't you, that's not true.
I left here, I went to school, played basketball down there, did pretty well. But school wasn't for me. I went 3 years and finally I just decided it wasn't what I wanted to be doing. And I just came back and just started working and that's what I've been doing ever since. Yeah, for sure.
Final question for all of you guys. What's your advice to all those younger athletes out there who are going to be watching, to some younger Hawks who have either recently graduated or who are in high school right now? Like, what things do you want them to know? Lessons you want them to learn from you guys?
One thing that I would say is don't concentrate in the 8th grade, 9th grade, 10th grade on one sport. You know, I know coaches try them all. You never know which one you're going to be good and it might not be what you think it is. But if you play different sports and don't get hung up with, I've got to play basketball 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 12 months a year. And I got to go to these camps, that camp, and that camp. That might make you a better basketball player, but you don't know. You might have, if you've done something a little different, you might have been an even better athlete in a different sport. So my thing is, especially 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th graders, don't get hung up in concentrating in one sport.
George?
I agree totally. I think, and it doesn't even have to be a sport, to be
Right.
honest. Get involved in something that's productive. You know, if it's sports, wonderful, because that's what we happen to do. But there are so many other things that kids can get involved in, and they can excel at that.
That's absolutely right.
All right. What do you want them to know?
Well, I agree. You know, I've had men that worked for me that played sports and men that haven't played sports and men that worked on farms and haven't. My best workers are always the ones that kind of grew up on a farm or they played sports. It's the camaraderie of it, and my kids never wanted to do the same things I did, sports, you're always riding each other. And she'd say, "Why are you so hard on your sons?" Well, I like to give it to them, I like them to give it back. So I would say, no matter what you do, find something to do. And find something to do that you like. I don't care what it is, but be good at what you do and like what you do. And keep a positive attitude and don't always be looking for some reason to get pissed off at somebody. You know, be thick-skinned and hustle. There's no compromise when you hustle. I don't care if you can't shoot or this or that. As long as you play as hard as you can and you like what you do, you'll always be a winner.
You have to like what you do.
Yeah, one
Yeah.
comment that I actually heard this last night or the night before, and it was, be happy, it's free.
It's free.
I like it.
Yeah,
Doesn't cost anything
Yeah,
to be
that's
happy.
right.
And the glass is always half full.
All right.
and just appreciate your life for what you got because it truly is a gift. I don't think any of us here can believe we're pushing 80 years old
No.
right
You
now.
are, I'm not.
Yeah. It's coming, buddy.
All
I
right.
hope it is.
All
I
right.
appreciate you guys very much. It was really nice
Thank
meeting you
you.
guys.